Guys who are currently watching a clip from our podcast, The Fellas, the full podcast is available exclusively on Spotify with video for free. So go ahead and follow us on Spotify. It actually helps us out more than you could imagine.
So yeah, just in terms of that, like, have there been like these big car crashes, and you just go?
I mean, there's been a few incidents most years, but touch wood, nothing too serious. You know, where, I mean, we've, the one year, that one 2001 where we did that Jackass first year. BBC also filmed that year. A host called Ruby Wax did the rally, and she managed to kind of capture or come across this kind of accident almost as it unfolded, which was this kind of white Ferrari, and it's sort of just, you know, no one else around, just kind of a bit too fast around a bend and just sort of end up going through fields and rolling and whatever and stuff, you know, and look kind of crazy. I mean, the two guys miraculously were okay, a few little scratches and cuts and whatever, but we're fine, you know, and it was just like, fuck, that was like the first time we'd sort of seen that unfold on the rally sort of thing, thinking, you know what, we got to calm this down, calm people down a little bit. And I think I went through a few years where the first year was never about racing. It was always about just this road trip kind of with mates sort of thing. And then it got a bit of reputation and obviously some stories kind of, you know, gained some traction. And actually even on the second rally, we had this one story that sort of came out that a bit like this sort of, what we realized in the early years of Gumball, probably before social media, let's say, was that one story would be like Chinese whispers. You know, whatever had happened, a car might have like hit a curb and like scratched its rim. Yeah. By the time it had got out to the media, to the public, that car had rolled 5 times and whatever, you know.
Yeah, done a few backflips.
Yeah, you know, right. It wasn't quite so bad, fortunately. But on this second rally, we had 2 cars on the rally, two Ferraris, new Ferraris at the time, and it was on the day through Germany, and they were on the Autobahn, and they were pretty much hammering it, you know, as fast as they could.
As you're allowed to.
It's in Germany, it's on the Autobahn, whatever. Anyway, this black kind of AMG Mercedes came up behind them, sort of flashing its lights, sort of get out my way sort of thing, and you know, it's probably doing close to 200 miles an hour, and it overtakes them, right? They're on the Gumball. They're not going to they're going to chase it, aren't they? They're going to kind of you know, it's in Germany, it's on the Autobahn. So apparently for about sort of 15, 20 minutes, these 3 cars, this black car, Mercedes, wasn't on the rally, just sort of the 3 of them like switch places, you know.
Proper race.
Kind of racing, right? Anyway, 15 minutes of this go on, up ahead, road closed, police, whatever, stop it. Turns out a black car's undercover police car.
Oh,
right? No! Filming it all. And in Germany, apparently, obviously on the Autobahn, there's no speed limit if you're driving in the fast lane, but you can't undertake. And during this cat and mouse of the 3 of them, for 15 minutes...
They'd roped them into it.
Baited them into it.
They baited them into it, and they got it all on film, and the undertaking had happened countless times, you know.
Yeah.
And one of them got a fine. They both got fines, you know, of circa, I can't remember now exactly how much it was, but let's say it was circa like 20 and 30 grand.
Yeah.
Pretty big fine.
Crazy.
That is a monster.
And it was kind of like a fine was almost like 500 euros, whatever it would have been per undertaking. Yeah. And that's all their offence was. It was just the undertaking offence each time. They'd been completely coaxed into it. Of course they had. You know, they wouldn't have done that, you know, or wouldn't have known that was a sort of... And it was just this blacked out Mercedes kind of like going as fast as he could, right? Anyway, that story in Germany made the headlines. It got front page news and everything. It was the highest fines at the time that had ever been issued. And suddenly Gumball had this reputation for being crazy, illegal, high speed race, you know.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that. You know, you'd still got people entering it in a chauffeur-driven Rolls or a Mini Cooper or whatever, you know. And suddenly it got this reputation for being like crazy, fast, high speed, whatever. And I think an element of the following rallies, when people entered it, some people entered it wanting it to be this crazy out-and-out road race, you know. So for a few years, we had this kind of like trying to almost educate the public again about the brand and, you know, is it this road race, which it isn't. And it's, you know, trying to kind of tell people it is just this sort of road trip.
Just a fun road trip,
and,
really.
You know, bring your wife, your best mate, whatever, and it's just about this adventure sort of thing. But you're always going to have a handful of cars that want to go fast.
Yeah.
100%.
Always, you know. And likewise, me too. You know, depends on what I'm driving. There's times where you want to drive a bit fast and have a bit of fun, you know, and cars are built for this. So, you know, So, but it's about controlling it for us.
I mean, I remember, I think once we got into Germany on our leg and we got onto the Autobahn, I think there was something that, if I'm not mistaken, the German got, and whether this is just what we were told just to make sure we didn't go too fast, we were told that they actually wouldn't allow gumball cars to go fast.
So
is that
in the you know, the years of doing this, I have quite a lot of experiences behind the scenes of like some North Korea and all of that organizing. So one year, 2010, the route that year was airplanes as well. It was starting in London. It was crossing the finish line in Times Square in New York. That was the route. It was half the route through Europe, fly the cars to North America.
Bagging that one.
And we were doing London to Amsterdam, Amsterdam to Copenhagen, Copenhagen to Stockholm, then flying all the cars to Boston from Stockholm. Anyway, in the build up to this, I have meetings with all the cities, the police, the local authorities, whatever it might be.
Is that what you have to do? Yes,
I have to do that now.
Okay.
Because you're closing streets like Regent Street.
Oh, right.
Equivalents in every
No,
city. In Amsterdam, we're putting on a music concert there that night. We're hosting, big public events, really. So, of course, you have to deal with authorities. And so on that day 2 of the rally, the drive from Amsterdam to Copenhagen, you have to drive through Germany. There's no getting around it. That's the drive sort of thing. And I went and looked at some sort of checkpoint area, cities, locations, Hamburg or whatever, to kind of say we'll organize a lunch stop here on this halfway point sort of thing. And anyway, started organizing that, and then kind of out of the blue, everything was going fine. Then sort of out of the blue one day, get a kind of a call or an email or something from that local authority there saying, sorry, but we've been told we can't host this lunch stop. We can't support Gumball. You're apparently an illegal event in Germany. And I'm like, okay, like, tell me more sort of thing. Anyway, what ended up panning out was someone, chief of police, whatever in that region, had read all the media or remembered the media from years before from that incident and sort of deemed Gumball to be an illegal road race. Yeah. So he wouldn't support us. And it went further than that in the sense that he actually said, we're going to stop Gumball coming through Germany. And I obviously said, you can't do that. We can just drive through anyway. We're on public roads. Yeah. If no one's speeding, why would you stop us? What can you do, sort of thing. Anyway, they kind of, it sort of escalated pretty rapidly. And I took them to court. I took the German authorities to court.
Wow.
Because they were literally stopping us from driving through. Yeah. And that would obviously stop the event. And by this time, 2010, you've got to imagine I've got some big TV deals. I've got some big sponsorship deals. I've got a global campaign at that time with Puma. Yeah. I mean, this isn't just like stop the rally and it's all fine. There's a lot on the line here. So anyway, as it got closer to the rally, we got a court date, which was 2 days before the rally happening.
Oh my gosh!
And I had to go to Hamburg to go to court, sort of thing, and I lost. We got banned from Germany at that point. What? And in a way, it was kind of cool, but it sucked as well.
Yeah.
Like to be banned from a country was like, all right.
What the hell? Yeah.
Wow.
So in 24 hours, I had to organize, and it happened to be a bank holiday weekend as well to add to this. I had to organize from all over Europe to get these car transporters that fit like 20, well, not 20, probably like 12 cars on each truck, to get them to Amsterdam for the rally and to transport all the cars across Germany to Denmark. Yeah. And then I got coaches for all the drivers. Literally regular old school coaches.
They're like, sorry guys, like this is
I mean, it became
unprecedented.
It became like that day was called like coach ball or something, and people hated it, and it like 9 hours in a coach across Germany whilst we're, transporting all their cars to Denmark and whatever. But looking back on it years later, it bonded people. Yeah. And people even look back on that day of it. It's
like an iconic moment.
Yeah. There was a time where the coaches had got to cross the border into Denmark, and we'd arranged this sort of just across the border there happened to be a sort of a small airfield. So we were like, that's where we were transporting all the cars to, and that's where the coaches were taking the drivers to so they could get back in their cars and drive into Copenhagen, Yeah. And they ended up, drivers got to this place probably about between, obviously we'd got countless, I don't know, we got like 20 transporters or something, to do this.
Yeah.
And obviously the first one set off several hours before the last one.
Yeah.
So you'd got basically drivers then waiting for their car to arrive from
After
probably
a
the
9-hour
first
shift.
cars arrived there after the drivers have been there for like 3 hours. So they've been waiting 3 hours in this cold airfield just in the border into Denmark. And the last ones probably were like sort of 8 hours later or something, and they'd missed the party in Copenhagen that night. Those ones had, and they'd arrived into Copenhagen like 3 a.m. or something,
Yeah.
So it was a nightmare day. But, that next day in Stockholm was a bit like I described in that first rally, that the party that night in Stockholm was probably one of the best parties ever because people had...
They're raring to go.
They were back on it and whatever, and, Gumball Air that year then flew the next day to the US, and it was part of what Gumball is, and it's about overcoming those sort of things. So anyway, cut back to Germany and what you heard when you did the rally. Back when we went through Germany again... what would have been 2013, I had that same encounter with, I thought, I can't leave Germany out forever. It's a big part of Europe. I want to drive across.
You need to
this.
get through it, yeah.
So I kind of reapproached them in 2013 and managed to get permission to drive through if all the sponsors' logos on the cars and the number on the side of the cars, if we just put a stick of tape across them to blank them out.
Like we're not...
Because having a sponsor's logo on a car in Germany means that you're in a race.
Right. Okay.
So, but they didn't
know
tell me
that
that the first year, and they didn't even, they didn't bring that up the first year, obviously. So anyway, they let me do it that year, and it was a bit of a ball ache to kind of do that for one day of the rally to tape everything up and lift it off afterwards. But we did it, and we went through Germany, and it happened. So then I was like, I'll build on that, And when you did it, we did it.